What is good, fam? We're going to be talking about trauma bonding because some of you are in toxic relationships and you need the reminder, okay? And for those of you who aren't, this is just a warning so that you have the insight. Okay, so we're going to be looking at trauma bonding today, okay? What is trauma bonding? And we're also going to be looking at it in terms of energetically what's going on, what centers are really being active and playing a big role. Okay, so what is trauma bonding? Trauma bonding is pretty much the bonding that takes place in a relationship with two beings, one being the abuser and one being the survivor. Okay, so what does this mean? The survivor can be anyone. It could be someone in a relationship, it could be a child, it could be, an employee. There's a lot of different ways this relationship can take place, and we'll get into why energetically very soon. And then you see that there's also the abuser, which is the other side, and of course that would be on the other end, right? A parent, the other partner, a boss. So looking at what is trauma bonding, what is going on, why is it a thing? Why do we get in relationships that are so toxic but sometimes so hard to leave, right? If you've ever been in a really toxic relationship where at the time you were in it, you actually may not have wanted to leave, or anyone who's telling you should leave, you were ignoring them, that's a sign that you are in a trauma bonding relationship. When there is abuse, other people are seeing it, they're telling you to leave, but you're defending that relationship because of other reasons, okay? And that's not to blame anyone, okay? We're going to be going over how to really clear some of this energy around trauma bonding and some good things to do if you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling like this is happening, okay? So first of all, let's just drop judgment, all right? Everyone has been created for their purpose, and we're all here to teach each other a lesson, if you will. So trauma bonding is no different, even though it's a harsh lesson that we usually learn from these kinds of connections. Trauma bonding usually happens when the survivor has been subject to certain abusive relationship kind of energy, where we're going to dive into the roots of the matter. The root chakra is playing a really big role. This could either be because their parents, all the way to their grandparents, were using this energy in such a way that trauma of abuse, of certain behavior, that was addictive, detached, or just cruel, in a way, narcissistic, if you will, really that root energy, maybe even of abandonment. There's so much going on here. It's stemming from a time where that abuser and the survivor, both parties, were very young, is when usually this energy, this traumatic energy, if you will, comes in. And trauma, really, when I'm talking about it, and we're talking about the energetic parts, right? I'm chakrologist mode right now, is literally something you could say is a dent in your energy field, okay? It allows the energy field to be dented so it receives certain energy that has been, upon that impact, it will continue to receive energy, because that's, you could say, the structure that it is structured in from that traumatic experience, that allows it to continue to receive and to latch onto energy similar to that experience, okay? Looking for, in a way, closure. There's a lot that goes on with the beginning is very good in these relationships. It's very positive. It's something that, the abuser might be promising so much love and support and stability, yet as soon, very quickly, the trauma happens when the abuse first hits, no pun intended there, but quite literally, that is when the shock and the trauma really starts to take place. And then afterwards, that abusive episode will usually end with some kind of dopamine spike of consolidating creating an excuse or justifying why the trauma happened, why the abuse happened, and then some kind of reward to spike that dopamine so that they feel relieved and they no longer have to feel that that energy. And so that's what they'll remember, right? So that is kind of the nature of a trauma bond, okay? And this can look from, little things to really much bigger things, right? And the really interesting thing is, again, these are really rooted energies. So it is hard. Again, we're talking about the root chakra playing a big role, okay? They start out by nurturing you, right? They start out by promising security in some way. That's root chakra energy right there. But in reality, that root chakra energy is not really as stable. And if you see the signs and are able to observe, thinking of, what does it mean to really be grounded? There's a lot to do with attachment. There's a lot to do with literally, physically being grounded, emotionally being grounded. There's a lot to do with that. And I'm saying this because no one's perfect, but being able to know what is this grounded? Are they grounded? Are they going from one extreme to the others and justifying that? When in reality, not all of their legs are on the ground. And they're getting swept up with those emotions. So that's where we begin, at the root chakra. And this has a lot to do with childhood, okay? If abuse, abandonment, so many things, it stems from that. And this is how it manifests itself further later down in the line, where we have to deal with this energy, right? So that trauma bond is created when two parties come together. And remember, we're all mirroring each other. So a lot of the times, those energies, when you guys come together, right, it is directly mirroring this energy that you need to address, okay? You need to be able to have the strength to notice the patterns. So what's really helpful? To write down and to write an accord of what happens and when. Why is this important? Because a lot of the times we will definitely get sucked up in the emotions I just described to you. It will start out really positive, this relationship. Then, when it happens, when those triggers come into play, and that's the trauma, right? The triggers that come into play are usually kind of abusive and self-destructive and destructive in general in nature. When those triggers come into play, it's really important to take account afterwards, okay? What happened, before, when you first met this person? What was the circumstance? Was it a grounded circumstance? Really think about everything around the general area, what words were being used. There's so much symbology that we're always being given to help us process and understand this energy, right? So understanding that, writing it down, okay? What happened in the beginning? What happened, when that trauma first hit, when that abuse in whatever form it came, when those triggers started coming for you and them, what did it look like, right? What was the trigger? What was a trigger for them? What was a trigger for you? Those are really important questions to ask yourself and to be able to write them down. The reason you want to write them down is so that you can kind of disconnect and read it almost as if you're in third person, so you can really see it. Again, with the trauma bonds, you get so rooted into this relationship because of the past karmic connections that are, manifested, that it's very hard. We almost feel there's a fear of leaving. There's a fear of being detached from this being for various reasons. But we need to be able to detach enough so that we can see this from a higher perspective, so that we are not connected and don't have that overall feeling, that dread that comes with the trauma bond when we threaten its existence with exterminating it. So that is really important, to be able to write down, okay, what were the triggers, and lastly, how did they justify it, okay, or how did you justify it? All right, I'm not going to say, there's no excuse. It happened. Why did they say it happened? Why do you think it happened? Okay, is it because of their past? Is it because of your past? Is it because of how you both interact with each other? Not trying to justify this to other people. Just write it down, okay? Give yourself a moment and then read it back when you're ready, okay? And try to look at this as if someone already wrote it for you, and really disconnect from what you wrote down just to evaluate. to really be able to see what you are experiencing in one of these trauma bonding kind of experiences, okay? And chances are you'll also see a lot of opportunity to grow within your own soul when you choose to leave and exterminate this kind of bond. So what does that look like? Okay, what can we do to really take our power back from a trauma bond? Okay, a lot of the times, we have that kind of victim mentality, which is another reason why we get into these kind of relationships where we feel like we are not good enough, or we need that kind of attention or validation from another party. We're seeking for that, and in turns they are also seeking for something for you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. A lot of the times I can't tell you to leave your trauma bond relationship if you're not ready to, because you will just justify why you should stay in that relationship no matter how toxic it is. And trust me, I've seen it happen to my own friends and families. It's something that you need to be able to allow yourself not to be so rooted into it, but rooted and grounded in your own energy just enough so that you can disconnect from the trauma bond that is happening. The longer you stay in these relationships, the more your energies will continue to root together, and the more difficult it will be to eventually release from one another and to go your separate ways, okay? So emotionally, that's what's happening with the root. The sacral chakra is playing a really big role, okay? Usually the sex is really great. Why? Because kinks are a way of therapy, if you will. So you might have similar kinks. Great, awesome. But the thing is, a lot of those kinks are probably, I won't say toxic. Hey, do what you want to do, okay, fam? But you will see that, what can I say? This temptation, this lower lustful temptation, kinks are really another way that we use to process emotional connections with one another. So even through that, being aware of what kind of kinks are present. Yes, all kinks have a symbolic, very strong symbolic meaning in how you connect with other people. So being able to be aware, okay, of how that is reflected in reality is also really important, okay? And this is more for the partner, when you're in a relationship, not really, hopefully not boss or parent, child, but yeah, that's really important to be aware. Okay, what are these kinks? And that's also going to shine a light on where you might need to just do a little inner work and self-reflection in terms of what kinks are. Not kink shaming you at all, just wanted to let you know that all of these kinks are in a way a form of emotional therapy, where we look for a deeper bonding and deeper inner acceptance. So what are you asking for them to accept, as well as what are they asking for you to accept in that vulnerable nature? Okay, enough about that. And then of course you have just self-worth in general. Again, there's this trend with praise and the opposite when it comes to these, okay? And you'll see more and more of the opposite the longer you stay in this type of trauma bonding relationship, because ultimately the more they are able to downplay you and what you are as a being of light, as just a gift from God, the more they're able to downplay it, the more they're able to control your actions in a way. So the solar plexus is all about taking action. It's all about our self-worth. And it's there where, you really want to be aware of that you are creating boundaries when it comes to taking actions that are assisting you, okay? And really, relying on your own self-validation at times where that positive talk is so important, okay? Positive talk is very important. So that is really, really important. But yeah, you can positive talk all you want if you still have someone that's telling you the opposite and you're emotionally and energetically connected to them in these lower realms of energy, then it's going to be really difficult. Anger is playing a really big role as well. Inner anger, being petty, with them, not even liking them really anymore, or even valuing them, but staying in that connection. See, that is going to be a reflection of what's happening on both sides. So being able to really take action for your worth, for those that you love, because you value them, okay? If you value yourself, then you'll take the action necessary, okay? And that means that there will be the opposite of praise happening from the other side. Obviously, you already know, but being prepared and already having strong foundation boundaries set up so that you can charge forward even when you can expect, however, the worst to happen in this energetic field to blow up, you are still protected and can use that fire to further fuel your action towards something that is more healthy, and allowing that inner flame and light within you to shine brightly instead of be stifled and suffocated in a trauma bond. Okay, so really important now, just going to go over, if you're in a situation like this, please don't hesitate to reach out to, literally me. I'm pretty much a stranger on the internet if you want to, or anyone that you feel comfy reaching out to, okay? No pressure there, just writing it down somewhere where you can read and reflect as you go through this energy and process it, knowing that there is a higher purpose to this. And I pray that we will all learn that higher purpose for these more traumatic and toxic relationships that we sometimes find ourselves in, okay? That doesn't mean that either of the parties are toxic. It just means the energy present with the interactions that are happening within each other are pretty much grinding against each other in a very toxic way. That again, neither party is really toxic, but the nature of the relationship, if it encourages toxic behavior, it needs to be terminated, is pretty much what I'm saying. So what can you do? Well, take little steps, journal, definitely journal how you are feeling, how the relationship is going out. If you have a friend that you can really trust, or someone that you can trust to confide in them, okay? Even if it's God, okay? Pray. Definitely be able to confide how you are feeling about them truthfully, okay? Make sure that you have some kind of plan if you are living with this person. If you are finding yourself very dependent on them, start, creating a plan to evacuate from that situation, to remove yourself, okay? Slowly but surely, and eventually you do want to cut off contact from that being. I only say this because, again, it's very easy to get into that. Literally any contact is going to trigger you at a certain point. So if you're aware of that, cut off contact with them. Of course, it can't always be possible, especially if you have children or, other situations, you work with them and whatnot. So limiting your contact with them to the bare minimum, where you are simply setting your boundaries. It all comes with knowing how much your time is worth, how much your being is worth, how much your life is worth, and how valued and loved and respected you are. And coming from there, knowing and respecting them for what they are going through, allows you to create those effective boundaries, okay? You're not only doing this for you, but you're also doing it for the other party, whether they want to admit it or not. If it is toxic, let it go. Cut it off, okay? There are many people out here that want to see you thrive, want to see your light, and allow you the opportunity to share it can only come when you choose to let go of these lower natures, okay? So giving yourself the time and space to even seek for help if you need help, okay? There's always help. It's the choice to call that person that can help you. It's that choice to pack your bags and leave. It's that choice to sit them down, tell them how you're feeling, and sort it out, okay? Most of the times, though, in a trauma bond, you think sorting it out, right? They'll say they'll change, and then next thing they don't change. Don't trust that, okay? Don't trust someone that says they're going to change, okay? If someone has to say they're going to change, chances are they're not going to change. If someone actually wants to change, they They won't tell you, and indeed, they will show you, okay? So they will always show you. They won't have to tell you ever. So if someone's saying, I'm going to change, drop them, okay? Because guess what? They're just sitting in stagnant energy, promising lies. All right, so that's okay. Again, forgive them. This is the most important one, okay? Forgive them, but most importantly, forgive yourself. Again, in a trauma bond, we may justify why we took all of the abuse we did, saying that, oh, we deserved it, or, oh, I made them mad, so that's why. When in reality, there is no excuses for why anyone acts any way, okay? The best you can do is forgive yourself for being in that situation, to learn those harder lessons of forgiveness, okay? Forgiveness is not always easy, but it will set you free, okay? When you forgive someone, you are energetically releasing that energy, okay? Don't be mad, don't be petty, just be honest when you're upset, okay? So when it comes to these lower energies, being able to forgive, I am so sorry, do some ho'oponopono. I'm sorry that I feel so attached to this toxic ass relationship. Please forgive me for not seeing that I was not helping, but in fact, assisting in the harm of myself and you. I love you, but I love myself as well. I love you, I love me, and I love being separately away from you. And thank you for understanding. Thank you for showing me this energy that needed to be cleared, okay? Because again, reflections and mirrors, and sometimes we need another person to reflect that energy so that we can acknowledge it and we can choose to forgive and let it go and move on. Okay, forgiveness. Again, forgive, but don't forget, especially someone who says they're going to change. You want to remember that if they said that before and they didn't change, and if anyone says that, to be honest, that's already a sign no one can change. Don't try to get someone to change. Walk away and allow yourself to change, because that, if you're watching that, this is for you, fam. All right, it's not an easy path, but forgiving them is definitely a step. Forgiving yourself, not condemning yourself for being in that situation in the first place, is a step to really living a healthy life where you are creating and cultivating healthy relationships that are assisting in your soul's growth instead of stifling it. So yeah, I know this video is pretty long, but I'm getting very passionate about this topic as I've seen it play out, and I feel again there's a wave playing out right now, and I wanted to just extend my heart to all of you that are experiencing this on either side, knowing that if you want to change, it starts with yourself. Don't look to the other party to change or validate and saying you're on the right path. Chances are, especially, they're not going to. But it's up to you to have that strength, the confidence, and the power to get up and do what you know is in your highest value, your highest worth, not only yours, but the collective's, okay? If you aren't aware, you're assisting in this collective drama that's happening right now. Whatever energy and however you choose to play out is going to amplify that energy. So what energy are you amplifying, okay? You were given this energy to deal with. I know that you'll do the right thing, fam, and you are doing the right thing. And I pray that you can continue forward knowing how strong, loved you are, okay? God loves you. God loves us all. We all have our purpose, and this is just a part of the play. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I pray that you have an amazing rest of your day. You can press the thumbs up right now if you like this video. Definitely hit subscribe if you haven't already to join the Good Vibes Delivery family. And fam, it has been so real. This has been really powerful. So I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and namaste.